Hello, everyone. So we'll start the session now. We have the key speakers and the curator also here. Thank you for joining in today's opening and talk. We will start with, I invite Ankur Vora from admissions team to start the session today and with a warm welcome message.
Hi, a very warm welcome to all of you who are joining in here for what I should say a celebration of creativity, art, and collaboration for an online art exhibition called Ideas Travel Faster Than Light. The show has been curated by Dr. Jasone Miranda-Bilbao in collaboration with the students of Royal College of Arts, London. And the show will be moderated by Professor Sonam Chaturvedi from Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities. A very warm welcome to students, teachers, artists, parents who are joining us here for this online art exhibition. In these days of pandemic, we have been deprived of quality art, and I'm hoping that today evening we will be our mind will be filled up with some really interesting ideas through the fantastic artwork that the students from Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities and the wonderful students at Royal College of Arts London have put together for us. My sincere congratulations to all the artists who are presenting today, and my sincere all the best to all of you for a wonderful show. I am looking forward to the show myself. Over to you, Professor Sonam.
Thank you, Ankur, for the warm welcome. I now invite Dean Kathleen Modrowski to address everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Sonam. And I guess to most of you, good evening. It's good morning here in New York where I am. But I'm just absolutely delighted to welcome you to the launch of this fantastic art exhibit, Ideas Travel Faster Than Light. This is actually the first collaboration between the new Bachelor of Fine Arts program and a very renowned institution, the Royal College of Art from London. So we're very happy to have you all here, and we'll be very happy to welcome, once the pandemic is over, many of you to our campus, either as visitors or as students. I think this show is very interesting. Certainly, I was taken by the idea. And I think the brilliance of the concept that was created by artist and curator Jasone Miranda-Bilbao. I'm going to be very interested to see what her ideas are, because just as the name indicates, ideas travel faster than light. Listening to the title, looking at some of the works, I created my own idea of what this is about. You know, I was telling some of our colleagues what my idea of the show was before I read the prompts. I am an anthropologist, so I was influenced by the idea of art and artworks taken during the colonial period and even now, and brought into different countries, brought into museums and reinterpreted in the imagination of the different people. For example, I'll give you a strange example. My own work in Mali, I had been given masks that were ritual masks. So I said, oh, these will look really great on the wall of my office. And some of the people in the community said, how can you do this? The masks are inhabited by the spirit behind the mask. It would be like you're putting the sacred essence of a person on your wall. Well, this gave me an idea of the object, the piece of art actually being a medium of communication and miscommunication as well. But I feel that as the title indicates, ideas travel faster than light, the fact that you're getting prompts from one group of people communicating to another, that this takes artistic imagination, artistic communication to a different level, that it is in intercultural interpretation, yes, but it is a dialogue. It's not one-sided. It looks like a very interesting dialogue and, in a sense, a co-creation. I'm sure that you will be able to correct my ideas or give your own ideas from it, but this, brings to mind some of the things that I feel that we have always lived by in my study of art, and it is the viewer who actually animates the art itself. There's the intentionality of the artist, but the role of the person who is viewing, living with the artwork, is something that is extremely important and essential, that makes the language of art so important, so vital, so long lasting, and something that can traverse different ages and different epochs. I would like to say that this program falls in line with the ideals that we're projecting for our own program at the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, and that is, art is not technique implementation, but it has more to do with a much broader utilization, inspiration from the realm of social sciences and the humanities. It's another form of deeper expression. And I think that this program is really evidence of the possibilities of putting these ideas forward. So thank you all so much for this wonderful collaboration. And I'm very excited to hear from our curator, as well as from the students who have presented in this program. Thank you all very much, and let's look forward to a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathleen. I think you put it in the right words, what art means and what our JSLH program, also the BFA program, the purpose and the aim of the program is. And this exhibition is an example of it. And I really want to congratulate all the students, all the participating student artists for working very hard to put up an excellent and successful online exhibition. And congratulations to the curator of the show and the initiator, Jasone Miranda-Bilbao, who is present with us, and Professor Akia Anzi for organizing this art exchange program project. So I would like to start by introducing the speakers, starting from myself. So I'm Sonam Chaturvedi. I'm assistant lecturer at Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, teaching expressive arts to the BA students. And we have with us the curator of the exhibition, Jasone Miranda-Bilbao, who is a multidisciplinary artist and curator. She works with sculpture, drawing, photography, and video, along with other mediums, through which she explores and questions surrounding the continuity of space and the relation between duration, materiality, and affect, distance, and slow motion. She has a PhD in Fine Arts from the Goldsmiths College, University of London, an MA in History and Theory of Modern Art from Chelsea College of Art, London, and BA Honours, Fine Arts from Manchester School of Art. She is currently based in London. And to give an informal introduction, she has been an old friend, and she was also, interestingly, my teacher in 2014 in Baroda. So I'm very happy to continue our evolving relation and look forward to many more collaborations. We have with us the extremely talented and creative bunch of student artists from JSLH taking part in the exhibition. So these are current students as well as alumni students. And we have students from Royal College of Art who also participated in the exhibition. The students who will be talking today are Kunj Chawla, Meghna Priya Vasudevan, Anika Ebi, and Aradhita Maheshwari. So with no further delay, we will start the talk with an overview about the exhibition to know more about how the exchange happened from the curator herself. So I invite Jasone to please introduce this exciting art exchange, collaboration, and exhibition we are here for and very eager to learn about. Jasone.
Thank you very much, Sonam. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. And it's so nice to also have spent all these years seeing you and meeting you in different places and different situations and bumping into you again. And this project was really lovely. Kathleen is put in such a good way the project that I'm not really sure what else to say about it, because you have talked about the complexity of setting up a network of relations that involved not only cultural differences and the times we live in that are very particular when you talk about communication at distance, for example, but also anthropology, a lot of issues that are linked to that idea of how do you reappropriate somebody else's ideas. So for me, that was very much at the heart of the project in the beginning, but also as an artist and as somebody who spent 7 years doing research, and Akia will know about this, doing research for a PhD, which is the worst nightmare scenario for an artist, really. It's so difficult to do. So we'll have the difficulty of relating an idea to a network, and how an idea and an artwork can actually be linked together without canceling each other out. Because sometimes when you have an idea and then you go off and trying to make it, you feel that you're overcooking it. It's almost like, well, do I need to do this? The idea was already resolved. The work is just illustrating the idea. Oh no, I'm doing myself in the process. Because the beauty of art is that actually says something that cannot be said. It puts forward something that cannot be said. So when you set up a structure like Ideas Travel Faster Than Light, that a group of people write an idea and another people interpret it, you have a huge amount of complexities there coming in, not only about differences of context, but also about the fact that an artist comes every day, the problematic of how an idea and an artwork can be articulated together in a way that 1 + 1 = 3, rather than 1 + 1 = 0.5. Okay, so I always knew that was actually asking the artist to do something very difficult. To bridge that gap, which is really difficult. But also in the process of that, there is all sorts of different levels of emotional things coming in. It's like we get very attached as artists to our works. They're our works, they're our babies. To see somebody taking over before it's finishing and completing it for you is not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of generosity. It requires to be detached from the process and to allow somebody else to come in and call your idea its own. So we're talking about cultural differences, emotional stuff that comes through, egos coming through, a whole lot of things that have to be negotiated. Now, my role in that, it was a little bit, I always see the role, my own understanding of curating is a little bit like a conductor of an orchestra. So you have the person that writes the music, the piece of music, the musicians that interpret and play, and then you have the conductor. And I remember on the 20s, even at the end of the 90s, there was this big wave in the West, especially in London, of curators playing to be artists. Okay, so all the roles, all the boundaries have been blurred, all the roles have been broken. So we are everybody's everything. Okay, there was this idea in the art world. So you had a lot of curators that they play artists, and they will take somebody's artwork and they will present it in a way that was completely different to what the artist wanted to do originally. Because the curator is also a player. And of course, we know that when you are a curator, you include some people and you exclude other people. You have a lot of power. I'm not stupid. I know that a curator actually plays a part, a very important part. Even in the way that you display the works, you play a very important part. But ultimately, for me, the role of the curator is to maximize what the art can do, what the artist wanted to do, not to put my voice in it, not to put myself in it. Play a little bit with the balance between how much can I say and how much do I allow the others to come into. It's more about, for me, it's more about facilitating and supporting, especially when you work with students and students of liberal arts that they haven't practiced art as long as I have, and they look at you asking for advice in many situations. You know, how much do you push and how much do you allow the situation to evolve? And this makes me question my own ethics, makes me look in a lot, reaffirm what I believe and what I think the art can do and my role in it. And this is probably the main reason why, and also facilitating the making of art that wouldn't have been made otherwise. This is what makes me want to do these projects. You know, this is for me what is really exciting. Ultimately, I have to put myself, get myself out of the way, because it's not about me. This is about the artists. This is about the students that have made the work. I've just been there facilitating the project. And I think that this is something that I feel quite strong actually as an artist as well, that curators give themselves too much importance. Far too much importance. I've seen actually invitations and posters where the curator is at the top, big text, and then the artist at the bottom, little text. It's like, hello, no. The art wouldn't be possible if there were no artists. Galleries are really important, curators are really important, people that write about art are really important, the public is really important, but ultimately, artists are really important. And I think that I hope the project has actually facilitated that. It's put the artists and the students at the core of the project. I know, Sonam, this is not really what you want me to talk about very much when we talk a little bit about, can you present this and that? But because we had a couple of other presentations before with the students where we discussed the project, and the project is there, the concept is there for people to read, I really wanted to make a point about how, because it often is the case that people ask me, or people introduce me as an artist and as a curator, and there's a little bit always that question of how do these things relate to each other. So I wanted to address that a little bit. And also because amongst the students, 2 or 3 have approached me saying that they had an interest in curation. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of my opinion, what I think curating can do. I read once an article that was really interesting. The person, I can't remember because I just read it on passing, but the person was saying that there is 2 ways of thinking about curating. One is to become a curator, or to become curator, or something like that. And basically, the difference is between ethics and morality. One, you learn a code of behavior as a curator, the things that you have to do, the things that you have to respect professionally, which you learn when you study curatorial practices or other forms of art practice. And then the other one is when you learn to become a curator like myself, because you enjoy that intervention and that aspect of making art, and you make your own ethics and your own code of practice. Now, when you curate an exhibition, it seems to me that you, out of your ethics or your own code of practice, you professionalize them. You make them into something that actually affects the artists that you're working with, the gallery that you're working with, the technicians, everybody. And I think that this is different to the way artists apply the ethics to their own art. It's quite different. So in that sense, I do think that there is an overlap, because artists have been curating exhibitions since the beginning of art. This is not new, but there is a difference that with the new courses coming up, curatorial courses coming up, these things have been analyzed really well. And we can start seeing, in my opinion, in how the overlap works, but also how the difference works. how the two things actually are articulated in relation to each other, the different responsibilities of the two and how the two communicate, how they exist in relation to each other. And I think it's particularly relevant to the project that is all about things going backwards and forwards, exchange going backwards and forwards, and boundaries being blurred all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll leave it to that, and then if people have questions, we can go back to it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll be having questions at the end. So yeah, if anyone wants to ask, they can just put it in the chat section meanwhile. And thank you, Jasone. I think what you are saying is making a lot of sense, and it is important to highlight what the position of a curator is, what the position of an artist is, what the overlaps are, and the differences, and how to negotiate between them. It is a very important dialogue that we should have, and this is a good platform that you are bringing it to. So thank you, and thank you for putting this exceptional exhibition together, and talking about its nuances. And it does definitely sound like an exciting process, and since I was there and involved, I could see how the exchange is also happening, how 35 students are involved, and how they're sending prompts to each other across boundaries. So it was an exciting and interesting process. If anyone has not seen the exhibition, I've put the link in the chat, so you can go to the link and see it right now as well. So moving on, now I would like my colleague, Professor Akia Anzi, to give an introduction to our new BFA program starting in fall 2021. Because this talk is also a way to familiarize the new BFA students with the environment that the creative environment at JSLH. So Professor Akia, please.
Thank you very much, Sonam. I think it was obvious for all of you that Jasone is underplaying her part as curator, so I will come to it very, very soon. But let me start by thanking my dean, Kathleen, for her continuous support and leadership in this exhibition, in the BFA program, in everything that we do. I think each and every student who is attending this talk can speak about this personally. Thank you very much. Ankurji and the admission team, IT team, been great support in making this event possible. I'm very, very grateful. I'm thankful for the artist communities that came to support. I think many of us, the artists, are very curious about what is happening in the art schools or in the kind of programs that we are offering at JSLH. But only few of us are actually taking actual interest in coming to this kind of engagement. I think it is important for us, I'm speaking as an educator, we would like to hear what you think, what are your comments about the artworks that you're going to see and about what the students are going to share. I would like to thank the students who worked really hard on their artworks, and the process that they went through, criticism, improvement, ideas, and so on and so forth, they were very open, they worked very hard, so I'm very, very grateful. And now to the project itself and Jasone and the students. In fact, I know Jasone for several years now, and I was also participating in one of the chapters of Ideas Travel Faster Than Light. And we had a conversation after it, and that's the way this project came about. And I remember, I will not speak about my artwork, I sent an idea from Delhi to London. And it was so strange because it was circles, and those circles which are very particular to a place like Delhi. Dean Kathleen spoke about how objects are traveling from culture to culture. So suddenly I saw the circles that I saw in Nehru Place, I think it was, traveling from Delhi to some park in London that I've never been to, probably I will never be. So, and with an interesting interpretation. So, and I think in this exhibition as well, we see this kind of interesting transformation. But it was a complicated process. To begin with, our students are doing a major in visual arts, or some of them are practicing more, some of them less, some of them are from first year. The students from the Royal College of Art are in their masters. And it was, challenging, I would say, and I didn't know what to expect. But I'm very proud to say that the students were, working and achieving and creating beyond our expectations. And I think for that we have to thank also Jasone for insisting. She's very kind now and speaking very softly, but she's also very sharp critique, very sensitive, very knowledgeable about what is happening in the field. And I think the students got a very professional feedback about what they are doing. So to begin with, the first stage of this exhibition was to send ideas. We sent ideas from Delhi to London. And then we got ideas coming from London to Delhi. And the approaches and what they did was very, very different. And even at that stage, each and every student got some kind of feedback from Jasone, and they were moving back and forth until the ideas which were sent were proper, so to speak. And the next stage was to create the artworks, and we would meet and discuss, and Jasone would again send comments and criticism, and students would call and ask. And many of them were working very hard and coming up with very, very, very interesting artworks. And only some of them, we can't invite everyone to speak. I apologize that we are unable to facilitate that. But I think the most important part will be to hear them going through this process, what they thought when Jasone was suggesting something else. But I think without this intervention and push that they got, it wouldn't happen. So thank you so much, Jasone, for this fascinating project. I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akia. Thank you for giving an overview and how the exchange actually happened and what all the students went through. The challenges and the learnings and everything is very important. And I think, listening from the students, their own experience is the major part of this event, this talk also. So let us now have 4 of our emerging artist students from the show talk about their experiences of participation, what art means to them, their experience of learning at JSLH, and from this exchange project specifically, how the artworks have emerged and been exhibited, finally exhibited in the show. So it is, I'm looking forward to hearing from them. And the first student artist is Kunj Chawla, who is an alumni of BA program at JSLH from 2017 batch. So I invite Kunj to please talk about his work.
Hi. So I'll start by talking about my experiences at JSLH. My 3 years at JSLH were very formative for me, not much because of the syllabus, although that played a part too, but more so because of the way in which art was taught to us, and the motives and the principles of art making that were taught to us, and how art was defined to us fundamentally. The central focus was never on technical ability, but rather more on ideas and the concept behind our artworks. And that's precisely what art is to me. It's a way of catching ideas, almost like catching fish in the sea. And the sea is wide and immense, so the ideas are infinite. The courses at JSLH were very wide ranged, from sculpture to sketching to installation to photography. I got a chance to try my hand on each one of them. I started as a musician and I was only interested in music, but slowly I discovered all these other mediums and found that I could express ideas in them that I could not express through music perhaps. So at JSLH, we had immense freedom to create whatever we liked in whatever medium we liked the most. And there was a focus on theory as well, which I personally loved because I love theory, and theory has always supplemented my artworks. And I think without conceptual and theoretical backing, my art would be nothing. With theory, I also got an opportunity to analyze my artworks from a more objective, societal, political framework, and I subsequently became more equipped to judge my own artworks and criticize them too. So with this RCA project, I think I felt that there are some ideas which help you to reach on to other ideas that you may not have ever arrived at if the initial ideas were never there. And that's kind of what I felt about the whole project. I think I would have never ended up making these artworks if it was not for the prompt and the idea that was sent to me by the student at RCA. And this, yeah, the prompt is there. And my artworks here also played around with that idea, because most of these images that I've combined here are screen captures from films from post-war Japan, which are overlaid on the Hiroshima Nagasaki bombing picture. And these are films that have personally inspired me and taken me towards ideas that I thought I would never reach. In post-war Japan, there is a lot of social commentary through films, artwork, literature that emerged out of the war. And in a way, my artwork was supposed to be a social commentary upon that social commentary which was happening in Japan. Like from the ruins of post-war Japan, how do people like Akutagawa, Kurosawa, Kobayashi emerge, and what impact did the war and the preceding tensions in the country have on their artworks? And could these specific masterpieces be created in any other circumstances? And I think they couldn't. So the project Ideas Travel Faster Than Light taught me in a way how to interact with other artworks, films, literature, and let it seep into your own artistic practice and creation. The intention behind using this meta commentary was also to create some distance between me and the content of the prompt I got, which is a film which is based in post-war Japan and how the war impacted Japan. And I meant to say how that social reality is so further away from me. So for me to just create an artwork about the Japanese post-war condition would be as good as a joke. So I can only try to understand or gauge that social reality through such films and literature, which I've featured in my artwork. This project also taught me how to be more collaborative with my artworks, and also how art can be used as a tool to communicate with each other. Most of the times we communicate through words, through common lingo, which is quite boring. But this taught me that there is potential, a lot of potential in the visual medium to make us communicate with each other and bring us closer to each other. Like when I got my responses from the student at RCA, I was really surprised how he could look at these abstract, seemingly meaningless artworks and engage ideas that I intentionally, I had the intention of displaying over there, but not in a very direct fashion, but he could still gauge onto those ideas and make something of his own. So it was very surprising. And finally, this project also gave me a chance to look at all the brilliant other artworks that fellow students at JSLH and RCA created. And hopefully those artworks also seeped into my subconscious mind and perhaps will emerge someday as new formations of those very same ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunj. I think, yeah, the process you have, highlighted really well, and your experience of the exchange, and how you have actually taken a prompt from a different, country and time zone also, and then mixed it with your influences and the present scenario you're in. So that really comes out in the photo montages that you are showing you have made over here, and they are quite surreal, and yet there is a sense of the present time and the past time, and there are various layers on each of the photograph, like each photo montage is a separate work, one can also say, but they are going really well together and creating this kind of timescape almost. So that's really interesting. So now I want to invite Meghna to share about her work and experience. Meghna.
Hello,
Hello.
am
Yes.
I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so
We
I
can't see
am.
camera.
Professor, if I turn on my camera, I'm scared my internet will slow down.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's why. Sorry.
no problem.
Yeah, I'm Meghna, and I'm from Chennai, and I'm a liberal arts student in the batch of 2018. So I'm currently graduating. Um, so I was a visual arts and sociology major. And I also would like to start off by talking about my experience in JSLH. I thoroughly enjoyed how interdisciplinarily it was taught, like all our subjects were, like interdisciplinary, right? And I saw a lot of intersections between my major of sociology and visual arts, like with regard to architecture, urban planning, and so through this course, I feel like my definition of art sort of broadened, like from just being things that you see at a gallery to a far deeper understanding of where all art applies in our lives, like day-to-day lives. Um, so yeah, my I also had a very interesting journey dabbling into various media of art through the specific visual arts courses with Professor Sonam and Akia. Um, I I really enjoyed the photography course, for instance, which was the first, I think, elective I picked under visual arts. And it sort of took me back to a time when I was experimenting with graphic design. But because at that time in my life I had gotten into sculpting recently, I was more taken up by sculpting, and I left my graphic design in the back, you know. So this course luckily opened up my eyes once more to graphic design, and I mean you can see my entire liking towards graphic design if you were to check my artwork that I had submitted for this exhibition. Like I also really liked that I was able to further develop my skills with animation with regards to rotoscoping and um, yeah, so it was just a very interesting course because it took me down a time like of my life which I had forgotten, and it made me realize that I might actually want to pursue a career as a designer or a graphic designer. So that was one very important part of JSLH for me, I guess, in my life right now. Um, so one thing I wanted to say about this exhibition, though, like I'm so glad I got to take part in it because it was very difficult to find motivation in the middle of the pandemic, because that's when I think we signed up for this and heard back from them about the exhibition. Um, yeah, it was very difficult to find motivation, right? Because I wasn't able to go out of my house and see things and engage with nature and other parts of my life. So it was quite a challenge to find motivation, especially from within, right? Because that's what we had to heavily rely on when we were just sitting in our rooms and on our laptops. Um, but yeah, I am very, very glad I took part in this because it was the right amount of motivation I needed to, inspire me to keep in touch with art again. Because I think I was sort of losing that part of me. And the prompt I received was actually quite perfect for me because the second I saw this prompt, I automatically felt like it was very pop art like, and I for some reason I felt like it was very interesting because in the back it seems almost futuristic, but like in the background, and in the foreground the elements are more pop art like. And for some reason I was very inspired because my favorite type of art to usually put out there is pop art or minimalism. And I thought that would be an interesting contrast. And I tried to incorporate that into my video that I submitted as an artwork. So I'm very, very grateful for this prompt and this entire opportunity to work with everyone um, and to even be in correspondence with Professor Jasone, because that was very helpful as well. She gave me very interesting feedback that only motivated me further. You know, one would think any amount of constructive criticism, you can either take it in a bad way or in a good way, and it was really motivating. And I was very, very grateful for that as well. Um, yeah, so from this entire ordeal of JSLH and this exhibition, yeah, sorry, um, I learned quite a bit, and I just wanted to put out there that I learned that some very important things I learned through this was to be able to take help whenever necessary. Like, there's nothing wrong with taking help, and if it's actually normal for an artist to be extra critical of their own works. Like, always find myself very appreciative of art, like from anyone else, but I'm extra critical of my own work because I'm constantly staring at it to only find the flaws. So instead of feeling disappointed with how I look at my own art, I learned to take it in a more positive stride, like to think, if not critical, where is the room for creativity and improvement? So I'm very grateful for this entire course and exhibition altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, Meghna. Let's look at her work. I think we can play and see her video that she has come up with. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Meghna. I think the way you're talking about motivation, that I really found very important over here, because the whole project was placed during a time when we were going through the pandemic and lockdown and the second wave also in India. So I think the duration of the project coinciding with the lockdown has a lot of importance, especially the way you're talking about motivation and how the lack of motivation was something creative people, not just creative people, but I think everyone was facing, but especially with artists, with students, it becomes very difficult to work or to create something by yourself when you are indoors all the time. There is no inspiration, you're not meeting people. So that is very challenging, and I think that's the important part of the exchange also, where you got something to work with, the prompts that came that really prompted you to act and think about it, and how to translate it into another medium, into your own work. And I think that has come out really well in your pop art video, with the sound as well, because the sound really also goes with the prompt image, where you can see the futuristic, almost apocalyptic kind of background, surreal background, and the pop art like foreground. And the sound really goes in both the prompt and your work, and it really adds a layer to it. So I think, yeah, you have come up with a very good artwork and responded to it in the taking from pop art. So that's really good and interesting. Now we have Anika Abhi to share her work. So Anika, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Anika. I'm from Dubai and I am a second year student at JSLH. I'm majoring in sociology, anthropology, and visual arts. I wanted to study liberal arts since I was in high school because I want to continuously learn and grow, and a regular degree just seemed quite limiting for me in that aspect. And I chose to study at JSLH because it had these very foundational courses, and it also had this different focus on the various realms of art, and its interdisciplinary structure as a part of its curriculum it just seemed perfect to me. So before university, I was into more of traditional artwork, like crafts and painting. But ever since I left home to attend university, I've been trying to capture my world through a camera lens as well. And through my art, I try to present the world as I see it. And that's why I'm majoring in sociology and visual arts, I think, because the combination of subjects, it allows me to learn more about the world and society, and just it sharpens my practice to better express things that I've learned and the beliefs that I have and the impact that art and society have on each other. In my first year of university, I learned the various shapes that art could take, from traditional crafts to drawing in perspective and theater. And that was when classes were offline, of course. So I got to go out on field trips and watch plays and watch the people around me create art. The electives that I've taken up have really influenced who I am, and the understanding that I have of visual arts as well. In my third and fourth semester, I attended these two electives taught by Professor Sonam, where each week we learn a different art form. And it just really shaped what I want to create today. In the third semester, we learned to create an artist book, and I combined photography and drawing to describe a journey in this book. And I loved it. I want to do more of that. And I realized that I like mixing mediums a lot. In the fourth semester, the elective was focused on the static and the moving image, and just watching Professor and the other students work with photo and video truly inspired me, and it continues to inspire me. It's just really nice to listen to other students express their opinions and share their work, and understand how art works through them. Every final assignment that I've created since my first semester has only helped me to try and find what exactly my practice is. It's interesting to see how, unlike what I considered art was 4 or 5 years ago, it just touches every single aspect of our lives, from creating political movements to building cities. The exposure at university, it's also really changed the kind of art that I consume and the way I consume it. So most of my work has been recently it's been like photography, and more recently it's been videography. And I try to capture movements, patterns, everyday things. And I'm a really sentimental person, and I think that reflects in my work. Learning about the nuances of creating art and its practice at JSLH is just, it's a really like wholesome and fortifying experience, because I have a better idea of what I'm creating, what I plan to create, and just a better sense of myself as well. I want to capture the mundane in all its forms. I want to write about how art is sustenance and how it shapes humanity. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm really glad I have like teachers and friends to guide me. Most of my practice is located within the sphere of JSLH, but the Ideas Travel Faster Than Light project has allowed me to watch and understand others' art as well. And it helped me reflect on my work too. I didn't initially sign up for this project because I believed I couldn't do it and I couldn't hold the responsibility of conveying someone else's thoughts into fruition. But Professor Akia took a chance with me and he gave me the opportunity to help Ms. Jasone curate. And then she gave me the option to be an artist in the project. And I thought of it and I said yes, because if these two wonderful artists believed in me, then why couldn't I believe in myself? It seemed quite absurd. Coming up with a prompt was relatively easy compared to coming up with a response. I thought of feelings of incompleteness that I felt at that time, and I wrote an incomplete poem, and I asked my partner to complete it. And it was so cool to see how my partner interpreted it as a photograph, and the response was in the form of a photograph. And it goes to say how fluid art is. Can we please go to the next slide and play the video? Okay. So before these photos, there was a painting that I created, an overly sentimental, really self-explanatory painting. Mr. Sone didn't like it. She was very sharp in her criticism, and I realized I hated it too. And I was upset for a while because when I first started working on a response, I realized that I didn't exactly connect to my partner's photograph of a wave crashing. And I guess that's why the painting I created before this video was just, it was so childish and detached. And I spoke to Mr. Sone about it, and she told me stories about her childhood growing up by the sea and throwing herself to the waves. And she told me to do the same. She told me to throw myself to the waves, and I did exactly that. She taught me that I didn't necessarily have to connect with something to make a meaningful piece. I could make art about the disconnect as well. That's what I did. I went around trying to capture photos of human hands, trying to connect to something, like a wave reaching to the shore, trying to find an embrace. I was proud of the first few photos I took, and I thought that was it. I took, I think, like 3 or 6 photographs. I don't remember. But Mr. Sone pushed me to take more photographs and expand the concept that I'd begun exploring as a response. And Professor Sonam encouraged me to consider putting these photos into video. And I'm really glad, like, I let myself be pushed so much and I took all of that criticism, and I'm just proud of my final work. It's a piece of me from the photos to the sound. And if you listen to the audio carefully, maybe you can hear like migratory gulls, the evening prayer. There's also like a sigh from me because my brother kicked sand onto my shoe. But working on this project, I realized that I'm capable of more than I think. Professor Akia has been telling this to me from day one, but I need to have more confidence in the work I create. And the Ideas Travel Faster Than Light project really helped me with that. I learned that it's not a simple process where you have a thought and you work on it and bam, there's a work of art. Like creating something worthwhile that you truly like, it's like taking 2 steps forward and then taking so many steps back. Then working on it again, scrapping the whole idea, looking at different perspectives, talking to others, and that eventually leads to something so beautiful. And it's been so interesting and it's been so nice to watch others discuss their responses and their ideas and then like watch those come to life as well. And I learned that I don't always have to be really articulate and describe my thoughts exactly as they are. Like the audience have the freedom to interpret it as they wish as well, because we don't work in isolation. And despite my initial feelings of a lack of connection and all that, the project really connects me to my partner, to Mr. Sone, and my professors and everyone else involved in this project. I think especially now that we're all separated and away, it's heartwarming to know that you don't need a guidebook or a set of specific instructions to connect across seas.
Thank you, Annika. You have put it very beautifully, the whole process, and very honest also, the way you are, describing about your lack of confidence and how you changed your work and the process of coming to this work finally. Because I was also looking at you, develop it slowly, and in the classes also, I've seen how sensitive and minimal your works are. And this video definitely shows that it is almost tangible. There are a lot of hands, and it kind of makes one reach out to someone else to touch something. And the title also, Embrace, is quite right for the entire experience of watching it also, with the sound, especially the textures, multiple textures. So it is a very beautiful work, and you should definitely be proud of it, and be more confident in making more, beautiful works and minimal and sensitive works, the way you are as a person as well. So thank you, Anika. And
Thank you.
now we have Aradhita, the last student, and she'll be presenting a very bold work, and let's hear from her, Aradhita.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aradhita Maheshwari, and I'm a third-year student of Liberal Arts and Humanities at OP Jindal. I opted for a self-design major in international business and visual arts. Initially, I was a little apprehensive about this combination myself, but I knew I wanted to learn business, and I knew I wanted to combine it with my passion for the arts. So during my 3 years at JSLH, I didn't only learn, but also realize that this combination has opened up so many different avenues for me. I absolutely loved the interdisciplinary curriculum and being mentored by Professor Akia, who helped me challenge myself and always pushed me to really work hard for all the projects that I've opted for. And before I talk about my art, I just wanted to quickly take out a moment and thank Professor Akia, Professor Sonam, and Jasone for curating this beautiful exhibition and organizing all of this. So my prompt was weeds. And the immediate thought when I hear the word weed is how it is defined as an undesirable plant. Most often, I considered my body hair to be an undesirable part of my body, painfully plucking it out every month. And just as weeds are plucked out of gardens to keep it clean. So this innate need to remove my body hair was shaped due to the social norms that I've grown up with. Back in school, I was very conscious about my body hair, and every day I would find a new way to avoid wearing a skirt, or I would pull up my socks to my knees so nobody could see the hair on my legs. And I've just been very, very conscious and insecure, and I've taken desperate measures to get rid of it, to only realize how quickly it grows back. So this project indicates weed as my body hair, and its unwanted reappearance. So yeah, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is my project, and it's just set me on my little journey of acceptance of the weeds on my body. So that's about it. I don't want to talk too much about it, but if you have any questions, please reach out to me.
Thank you, Aradhita. Yeah, please, if anyone has any questions, comments, I see that people are commenting on the works. Thank you. But if you guys have any questions, please drop in the chat box. We will be happy to answer. The students will be happy to know your comments also. Thank you, Aradhita. And I think the way you have, taken the idea of weeds and connected it with a body and with the way the society looks at a female body, that is really interesting and very thought-provoking. And also the way you have captured the images also make the viewer in a way uncomfortable also, and challenge them also to look at it, even though these are not hair, or these are leaves stuck to the body. Even then it reminds the person of the hair. So the analogy is really interesting. So thank you, Aradhita, and all the students for sharing their experiences, and the highly conceptual, thought-provoking practice, which shows a range of ideas and mediums you all have dealt with. This also gives us more insight on how the exhibition came together, and how the process, along with being an exchange of idea cross-border, it also created a meaningful dialogue, which is also playful in many ways. So there are playful interventions that art can instigate, and we can see that happening through text, through visuals, images and videos and drawings. I wish we could see more works and have more students talk about the exchange, but in the limited time, it's sad that we can only talk about selected works. And this project, the very essence of it was to bring artists and students who are emerging, who are learning, to cross send their ideas across nations, and breaking geographical boundaries, especially at the time of the pandemic, where such exchanges are very restricted because of the restriction of movement. And this is true to the title, Ideas Travel Faster Than Light, because here we can see that how ideas are traveling across borders really fast, and instigating so many different kinds of artworks. So I'm very happy and grateful to Jasone and the students from both the universities for making this possible. So we can take questions now. So I think there are some questions in the chat box. If anyone else also has, please add them. We can take as many questions. So I think Manvi is asking, what made you think weeds are desirable for Aradhita?
Well, I think it was my own little journey of trying to understand weeds in a garden, and then my body hair and the body hair on my body initially. And I think until now also, I'm pretty conscious, but I've started to learn that I'm beyond this, and my identity is not based on the hair on my body. And I've just learned to be very comfortable with my body. So that's why I think it's a desirable part of my body now.
I think that answers Manvi's question well. Neeraj has a comment. The approach towards creating these works is really appreciable, and taking ahead from prompt as a first point to start is also very interesting. Yeah, definitely. So how the prompt also travels and how it takes different forms. That is an interesting process. These works are inspiring. Okay. Arjun says the leaf work has given me a brilliant idea. Okay. Hmm. Uh, any other questions? I have a question to the curator. Okay, Jasone, for you. What was the challenging point for you to curate in the digital world?
Yes, a little bit, because I'm quite old-fashioned. I like things that you play around with and you pick up and you lift, and I like talking to people directly. In fact, I never participated in social media until now. I opened my Instagram account during the lockdown. I was very anti-social media. So yeah, it has been a challenge, but at the same time, I have found it really interesting. And at least, I don't know how it's happening in India, but in London during the lockdown, there has been an explosion of online projects, but some of them very interesting. And I have, through this, being involved in Ideas Travel Fast and Like during the pandemic, push me to think about how to use the digital media in a way that works for me, in a way that doesn't, in a way that questions those ideas of materiality and physicality in an interesting way, rather than substituting one thing for the other, because I don't think there is a substitute for direct experience. This is a different level of direct experience. So in a way, it's been challenging, but I think a really good challenge and something that I really needed. I really needed a kick on the backside and say, well, we live in 2021. You can't just isolate yourself from the digital world. How can I make a use of it? So it has been a good thing. I still think that at the Royal College, they're going to do an exhibition. Well, the idea is that we will do an exhibition offline of the works that they have been made here when the college opens in October. I still think it would be really interesting to do the same in Delhi, to actually see the works for real, offline at some point in the future, whenever it's possible. Because I don't think the online media is a substitute. I think it's an addition to offline media. I think it's important to get that balance right.
Yeah, that's true. Akia wants to say something.
No, I wanted to say that there is a question from Sally H. I think it will be easier if I will tell you that there are questions on the chat instead of you reading one by one. If you want, I can read it.
Yeah, that will be helpful. What Jason is also saying is very important here, because the screen creates its own experience. It cannot substitute the physical experience. And but it will be interesting to see how the works come from the digital virtual experience to a physical experience, and that will be, I think, the completion of the project, and maybe another step forward. So really looking forward to that.
Okay, I will comment also before reading the question. I think that there is also an advantage for us in many places where not always many platforms which were not accessible, at least for me, suddenly became accessible because of the digital world. So there is some kind of advantage. So the question of Sally is, what inspired you, referring to Annika, to make hands in your project? Interesting. Annika.
Yeah, I for a second I didn't realize it was addressed to me. But thank you. I think I just I talked to Mr. Sone, and then I realized that I was struggling to connect to things. So I tried to make it more, I think, more of a general kind of, like, for me, I couldn't connect to the picture at first. And I think all of us, we struggle to like reach out to other people, reach out to other things, and our hands are what we use to reach out and embrace each other and things. So yeah, I guess that's it's just the simplest of, I don't know, yeah, that's, I can't frame my thoughts, but yeah, it's the first thing that came to my mind. Our hands are what we use to reach out. Our hands are what we use to hug and to even push things and people away. Yeah, I hope that made sense.
Yeah, I think Sally can answer that, if that answered her question. We have many more comments. Neeraj says, you are right. I think digital tools can become the extended spaces for viewing the physical artworks to the wider audiences. Yeah. So the reach also is important, how it reaches out to a wider audience. Can we take up more than one subject like sculpting and sketching in JSLH? I've always wanted to explore different mediums and try them. So yeah, you can. It is interdisciplinary program, so it is not limited to only sculpting or only painting or sketching. We mix mediums, we learn different mediums in different courses. So definitely you can take up more than one subject, because there is no like one subject. If there is material exploration, then there are multiple mediums. If there is one on drawing, then it's graphite, charcoal, and portrait study, so different kinds of drawings. So yeah, you can explore. Have the artist students continued to communicate beyond the prompt? Okay, that's very interesting question, and I would also like to know. It's coming from Professor Kathleen. So students, you want to answer, or Jasone, maybe?
I don't really have an answer for that. I think that is very much down to the students themselves to get in contact with each other across if they want to. It's not something that I feel that I want to either promote or prohibit in a way. I think in previous Ideas Travel Faster Than Light, we had cases, I had situations where some artists actually collaborated, they got in contact with each other. I just had to forward them the emails because both sides asked me that they wanted to do that. But I remember one case where one side wanted to contact and the other one did not want to contact, because they actually wanted that space, that gap in between. So it's something that I don't think there is a rule for it. It's very much up to the individuals and up to them to get in touch with each other. And of course, if I need to facilitate, I'm here. Anybody can, just get through me and I will do the linking, but it's up to the individuals really.
Yeah, that's true. Kunj, Meghna, you guys want to tell if you are in touch with the students or you're planning to?
Yeah, we connected on Instagram, so we keep looking at each other's artworks, and well, we did speak once after the project happened, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think connecting on social media is a step forward, and I think you will be responding to each other's works as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good.
But can I just add one more thing? Sorry, Aki, I think I interrupted you. That if anybody, is really interested, there is a deeper level of, a connection there that is started. It's now really up to you guys to organize something yourselves and take that connection to the next level. In a way, this project, it is a way of facilitating contact. Then you have to do whatever you want with it. So, you can curate your own exhibition, you can set up a discussion, online discussion. If you find that you have made a connection across, that is really entirely up to you now. And you should really take on that role at some point when you're ready.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we have not any.
While I can give my comment in the meantime while Sonam is looking for the new question in the chat because there are so many responses. I wanted to say about my participation in the project. I never spoke to my collaborator. I don't know him. I Googled him, of course, because that's what we do nowadays. I mean, a very interesting artist. And we had a conversation without having any conversation. That was very strange, I must say, but very interesting, you know. He didn't contact me. He didn't want to speak to me. I didn't feel the need to tell him anything more apart from the short text and images that I sent. So this is another form of communication.
So we have Finra's comment about how it is important to talk across the world in these difficult times. Very true. Prajot has asked a question, and I think it is the same question was asked earlier, I think, about how has this digital exhibition been for you in terms of experience when compared to physical exhibition? Jasone, you have anything more to add to it, or was it already?
I just go over something. Finn is the person in the Royal College of Art that has been directing the project there. So I think his text is quite official. Okay, so it needs to be put into context. I can't really add any more, except that I come from a sculpture background. I like stuff. I like to touch things. I'm quite old-fashioned. I like sculpture this, sculpture, I'm painting that, and then muck about with them and play around with them. I still think that real things that can be touched are really important in the way we relate to one another. We are bodies, and we relate to one another through that physicality, the way we smell and the way we feel next to each other. So yes, my experience has been completely dictated, or it's been massively influenced by the fact that I haven't had any of that. But it doesn't mean that it's worse or is in a way inhibited by it. It's just been different. It's been like an interface that I had to deal with another material that I've been dealing with. And because it was very much the first time, I think if I had to do this forever, I don't know if I would be this happy. But because it was the first time and it was new for me, it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, I think that makes sense also, how both have their own experience and their own space of occupation. So since we don't have any other questions, I think there are some questions regarding fine arts course, which Akia has answered. So if there are any other questions, you can put it here. And I think we are at the end of the talk. So thank you everyone for attending and participating so actively with so many questions and comments and discussion we had with the students. So thank you, Jasone, and our students, emerging artists, for giving this opportunity to know more about the project and see this wonderful exhibition together. Thank you, Kathleen, Akia, Ankur, Priyesh, Deepshika, and Payal for being here and contributing towards a smooth opening and talk. So now the exhibition is open and everyone can look at it. And thank you to the JGU IT team for a glitch-free talk, which is very rare to have. We look forward to many such collaborations and organize such art events at JSLH in the future. So please stay in touch, and thank you everyone, and take care.
Thank you very much, Sonam, for moderating this so beautifully. And if anyone would like to stick around a little bit, I saw that some of our new BFA students have some questions and all. I'm at least going to stay here for a while. So feel free to, I don't know, can you unmute yourself and speak? I'm not sure.
I have actually unmuted myself, but I don't know if you can hear me because I have not been responded to. So I don't know if my voice is being heard.
Prajot, your voice is always heard, Prajot, especially yours.
Thank you, Professor. I was just trying to find my way out to raise my hand, and I finally figured it out when I Googled it on Zoom. Anyway, anyway, it was lovely being here, and it was a lovely experience listening to all the artists. So, and it's a very well curated exhibition. So, thank you so much for letting us in here. And the question, I think I was glitched out of Zoom when I think the question was answered. So, ma'am, Jasone, Professor Jasone, if I can address you as that. You talked about your experiences with sculpture, and of course, old fashioned, like that. All of us like to physically visit exhibitions. And I also really love curating exhibitions, and I do that myself. And I wanted to ask your suggestion, if I may. I hope this does not come out to be as rude to you, but I just want to ask, what do you think about online modes being there? Because at this point, I don't think in India we can have physical exhibitions because of the rising COVID cases. In such a scenario, if someone wishes to curate sculptures in an online mode, what according to you should be the ways and methods that we should be adopting now that we have reels and we have camera lenses that, you know, make you feel so many um, sensory organs? So what do you think, what are your suggestions on curating sculptures in an online mode? Should we wait till we get physical, or should we try to figure out new ways of experiencing the sculptural curation in online ways?
I think my feelings is that don't wait. I never wait. Just try to make the most of what you have. So, for example, there is a project comes to mind. There are very many, but a project comes to mind that very much does that online. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called The Flat. Of these artists, two artists that they do exhibitions in their flat, and the flat is become one of, clearly it's just one room in the flat, that more like the sitting room, a lounge or something. So they get works from artists, they collect the works, they put them in the flat, very much interacting with the environment, and they are often three-dimensional actually. And then that becomes an online exhibition. And there is so many, I could say dozens of online platforms in UK that they have opened during the lockdown, of people that they have taken they're taking art in their own hands, and they have come up with different formulas to create art and to exhibit it and to put it out there. And sculpture, I think that we're heading towards the time of sculpture because of that, because it's physical and because it's insistent. It forces us to actually be in the space and reminds us about us being actually a body, not just an interface. And so I think that there are ways of doing exhibiting sculpture, like you said, respecting the rules that we need to respect right now, but actually still share with others our ideas around sculpture, which might entail negotiating the virtual some way. But there are many ways, and I think, one of my favorite is the flat gallery space, but there are so many of them in UK. I can send you links if you want, but yeah, you will. I'm sure you'll find them. All of them are in Instagram. Instagram is become the thing that artists communicate through. But I think it's open up. The lockdown in England is open up communication across between people that they didn't exist before, because now we have so much more time in our hands, and I think there has been an interesting cross-pollination that is new, that is very new, a good one. Yeah. But don't wait for anything. Just find ways of doing it now, tomorrow, Yeah.
Thank you for your answer, Professor Jasone. I also would like to share, there was this artist that shared with me her filter when she curated one of her exhibitions, where the filter could actually place her installation wherever your camera was actually getting placed. So you use the filter and you could place that particular installation wherever you'll actually like to place it and click a picture of that. So when you say that you like the feel of it and you actually want to understand the size of the installation, I think that would give you a hack of the size and the work that was actually gone behind that. So I think that's another way in online modes you can actually overcome that. Just wanted to share it.
Yeah. there are many new technologies coming, and what you're talking about is augmented reality. And there are many works which are coming up with in experimenting with virtual reality and making apps and websites and creating experiences, very physical experiences also, like you feel something when you hear the sound or you see something. You feel like you are in a different space. So there are various possibilities now opening up, since we are restricted in a physical, aspect. So virtual aspect has broadened more.
Totally. Thank you.
I wanted to add something about digital art and online art. I think, well, I'm old-fashioned. Don't get me wrong. I also I'm sculptor. I like to touch, and I like the physicality, and I also like to meet people at opening. So, but I think that digital art is not only a compromise, and I was expecting to hear, means I will speak about projects of Sonam actually. So they had a telephone project in which, not even online, one person would call another. It's slightly complicated and I don't know to explain, but different sound pieces would be projected to your mobile somehow. Then 2 o'clock in the morning, I would get a phone call, and unclear from unrecognized number, and a very interesting and sometimes scary art piece. So, and that happened before the pandemic. So the digital and online space and many things which are not physical are used by artists in so many ways. So it's not just a replacement. It is true that now we have no choice but to do it, but there are many ways in which this kind of practices can be, and to my mind, should be explored.
You're mute, Akia.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to say that the formal part of this conversation is over, so everyone can feel free to unmute, speak, and
Yeah, the students who were part of the exhibition who didn't talk can also, speak.
yeah. Means we couldn't include everyone, but we had brilliant. Means all the projects were brilliant to my mind, and people dealt with variety of subjects, colonialism and the environment. What else? I'm thinking about more projects that I have in mind. Some drawings and paintings we did have. We had animation, sculpture of Muskan. I would call it a sculpture. She refused to talk. Where is Muskan? Muskan is here.
She was
Hello,
here.
I'm here.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good. You want to say something about your work? No. It didn't change. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can wrap up. The students who were asking about the program can get in touch with us. I've dropped my email, so you can ask any questions you have about BFA, about BA programs. And
Is this, am I audible?
yes, Sunit, yes.
Yeah, is it open to ask questions about the individual artworks of the teachers? Yeah, okay. So this is to Mr. Arshia. I have actually been going through your works, and I have found this work. I haven't found the title, but the white cuboidal block that is boxed within glass and wood from your first set of exhibition. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I think it is Geniza.
I'm again speaking on you. It's interesting because I'm working now again on the second stage of this project. Please continue. Yes.
Okay. So I find this very interesting, and I have a photography sequence that I can really connect this to. But then I would like to know your conceptual intentions on it.
Wow, that's a whole conversation about this. Geniza is traditionally it's like a burial place for not for people, but for books, usually holy books, and so it's a kind of archive, but it's not really an archive because you're not supposed to go there and read the books. It is out of respect you bury them instead of throwing them away. So the whole exhibition dealt with challenging the norms of memory in history, in the science of history, and presenting an alternative way of thinking about memory. Memory which includes not only what you remember, but also what is important to forget, a selective memory, non-scientific memory. So all the sculpture, the ones that you mentioned, I think is made of paper, and playing with the idea of soil and paper and the mixing of the two and what is left and what is memory and how memory is transforming the ways that we see the past. All of this was part of it. But it's a matter of a longer conversation, I assume. And I would love to see your series of photographs, and you know how to contact me, I believe. So please send me.
Yes, I sure will. Okay, that's actually, I find this set pretty interesting, really interesting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Aradita, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited that I was a part of this exhibit.
Right, and we had Jasone to make sure that it will happen and to push us.
Absolutely. And I had you to push me and work hard for this project.
Don't tell them. We have new students. They shouldn't know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Any more comments?
Yeah,
Professor, this is Anika. Yeah, someone asked in the chat, how do we get the inspiration to make art which connects you with the audience? Has someone answered that question? Because I'd like to just give my thoughts on that, if I could.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so I think if you have a sliver of an idea, and if you yourself are inspired by the thoughts that you have, and if you're sure of it, and if you've created it out of some kind of dialogue, then it will just automatically connect with your audience. You don't have to go out of your way to form a connection. That's something I learned during this exhibition and this project. I was trying really hard to make sure that everyone understood what my thoughts were, but I didn't have to try that hard. It's just automatically people would just seem to connect it with their own personal experience. So yeah, I just want to say, and if you focus on the way you're creating it and your thought process, then it will connect with other people as well. You don't have to go out of your way to form a connection. The connection will create itself. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Beautiful way to put it.
Can I send something to that? Because I think that is thought I completely agree with you, Anika. But also what I would like to add is that what I think is really important is, as an artist or as somebody who might be interested in making stuff that is along the lines of art somehow, is to create yourself a context in which you exist, to find the context where you, not where you belong to, but where you can actually operate, to find your peers. There are so many different art worlds. It's not just one art world. There is infinite layers to the art world, and each of them is quite particular, is quite different. And I think it's good to know what your niche is, who your peers are, who your crowd, not in terms of audience, but other people that they think like you. And some of them are other artists, some of them are audiences, it doesn't matter. But, like for example, when you are in the art world, when you go to private views and to openings of exhibitions, I always go to the same openings. I don't go to certain places because it's just not my world, So you end up, and by doing that, you meet more or less always the same people, although it's not always the same, people come and go, and you end up developing relationships, friendships, work partnerships. People ask you what you're doing, you tell them what you're doing, you exchange ideas. And I think that artists don't work in isolation, and I am very much an individual, I am very Western in that sense that I think of people as individuals, not really as communities. That's more of an Asian thing. In the West, we are very dualistic. Is the individual against the world in a way? Perhaps I'm not so much like that, but I'm very much an individual. But I still think that I am very much part of an artist community, and this is really important. And I think that audiences, it is another layer of that, but it's very much on the same lines. But I think that, like Anika says, if you work out what is that interests you, what motivates